All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to another edition of a Google Plus Hangout for Channels Beam. My name is Victor Matthias, and today we are going to be looking at the Sustainable Development Goals, which was brought about by world leaders on September the 25th, if I'm not wrong. But I mean, a lot of talk has gone down, a lot of water has gone down the bridge since these goals were brought about by world leaders, and one major point, one major concern of many people, especially in Nigeria, is the implementation of the Millennium Development Goals in Nigeria. The Millennium Development Goals were brought about in the year 2000, and yes, 15 years down the drain. How well implemented have they been in Nigeria? Well, joining me to shed more light on this, we have Wale Mikaya. Wale, thank you for joining and coming on board. You are calling from Lagos, Nigeria.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
And also joining us is Dr. Jalia Bello. She's calling from Coventry in England. That's the United Kingdom. Dr. Jalia, thanks for coming on board.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Wale, I know you're a gentleman, so I'll let Dr. Jalia go first.
That's fine.
You're all dressed up like a gentleman. So, okay, Dr. Jalia, let me just start with you. I mean, a lot has gone down. The MDGs. How would you say? I mean, how would you rate the implementation, first of all, of the MDGs in Nigeria and even Africa at large? But let's just, like I said earlier, restrict or put this hold the conversation down in Nigeria. How would you say they have been implemented so far?
Well, thank you for this question. This is very, very important for us to look at and to also be able to determine why we have failed or had done well. The MDGs, as you know, they were 8 in number, starting with eradicating poverty, down to number 8, which was the Partnership for Development. So what we did is that we're lucky that the National Bureau for Statistics (NBS) has been able to put a performance survey, a kind of tracking survey report for the MDGs, and which has gone through all the MDGs, and we can look through that. I can start with goal 1, for instance, and you know the first goal, which was to eradicate extreme poverty. The result from the Bureau of National Statistics is that Nigeria was able to achieve at least 25.5% as at 2014. And it was also reported that Nigeria has attained a hunger target. However, you know, there are differences between what is in reality and what is being reported. So this is arguable. For the goal 2, which we looked at primary education, the NBS also reported that Nigeria was able to achieve 68.7%, which is a drop from 71% in 2012. Recall that this tracking performance survey is for 2015. So what we see is that there are places where we can say yes, that something good has been done, and there are places whereby we can say, oh no, we're far away. But the general concept in Nigeria is that we're really far away from achieving the MDGs up to the time that they had expired, and now we have adopted the new set of goals, which are the SDGs. There are a lot of data we could cover, so but I don't know how much time that you have to look through into that. I believe Wale can share some more details with you.
Okay, very well. Like you just said, Wale will share some more details with me. Wale, okay, here you go. Dr. Jalea has just dropped, some figures, but she says it's arguable. She also made mention of the fact that what is reported might be different from what is actually on ground. But that's just like a background. Now let's just move forward. Now, first of all, let's get your own perspective on that, and also then we'll move forward to the SDGs. What do you think, first and foremost, in terms of implementation of the MDGs so far? I mean, 15 years down the drain, we're about to drop that and take up a new challenge, which is the SDGs, and this time around, they double what was put out during the MDGs. We have about 17 of them. But what do you think, first and foremost, how do you think we have done in putting this in place in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you for the question. I think the first thing, 2000, we have to adopt the MDGs. And if you look prior to that time, we just transited from a military rule to democracy. So government was trying to focus on governance and more or less like establishing structures. So the focus really wasn't on the MDGs, it was just to get Nigeria running. So a look at government's commitments to MDG didn't happen until about year 2004, 2005, when we started having allocation from the budget. So the results we have today isn't surprising. Data available from the Office of Statistics gave us an idea of how we have. Well, that is the results. But the really reason why we didn't have much achievement is because we got late into the game. And I think we would do very well thinking about the SDGs and how we're taking it up from the beginning. In fact, the awareness in Nigeria currently is overwhelming. And I think that if government would start on time without waiting for 5 years, I think it will help a lot to get us started on the right track and also catch up with the rest of the world in terms of implementation. The MDGs are good, but I think, in my opinion, that the SDG are good to look at, and they are excellent in terms of driving home development in Nigeria. Thank you.
Okay, very well. Wale, you're restating the fact that we actually got into play. That's for the MDGs. You're saying that we actually got in late. But Jalia, let me come back to you now. I mean, this is 15 years since Nigeria's, actually 16, since Nigeria moved from military rule to a democratic system. Because one of the reasons why Wale is saying why we have failed to catch up is because Wale is saying, according to Wale now, that we came onto the game late, and the budgetary allocations, to champion the cause of the MDGs then was kind of came in late, and that was because of the transition from a military rule to a democratic dispensation. But now, 16 years down the drain, in a democratic dispensation, and here you go, the SDGs are coming into play. How do you think we will do? Do you think there will be a renewed strength or drive, to push the SDGs, looking at where we're coming from when the MDGs were launched?
For your question, thank you for your question. I think that what we have seen already is that the SDGs are already more popular than the MDGs. I mean, I knew about the MDGs when they were adopted, but not as much as I have got interest in the SDGs right now. In fact, knowing about the SDGs has even made me learn more and more about what transpired, how the MDGs came into play, and how they got achieved in some places or not. So I think coming 16 years later, we have to look at things like first and foremost, early adoption is critical. If we don't adopt these SDGs as early as possible, then we might be still lagging behind. Another thing is that we need to dedicate resources across government agencies, responsible for the implementation of the goals. And more importantly, we need verifiable and believable data, including population data. The thing is, how would you know if you're planning accurately or correctly if you don't even know the people that you're planning for? So we need that. And lastly, I would say the last point really is public awareness, and this is what we've been doing. A lot of people have been doing it. NGOs, some government, some state governments like Kaduna State have taken the lead on this. So people are knowing more about the SDGs. They're knowing the importance of these goals. They know that Nigeria is in dire need of a lot of things, such as good education, eradication of poverty. This is a shift from what we used to see before. People are coming out and demanding for good governance. And for that, we're seeing that, yes, probably that will be pressure on our leaders to adopt, these goals as early as possible and then put them into their planning. Another thing that is very, very important is that we're now in the budgeting season, and what we should be seeing is that state government should be able to mention SDGs in their budgets. It should be able to reflect in state budgets. This is very important. So again, early adoption is very, very critical, and we also need verifiable and believable data, including the population data, and we want to see these SDGs reflect in budgets as well as public awareness of the goals. Thank you.
Oh, very well, Anjalia. Wale, let me also come back to you again, because Anjalia is raising some points now, talking about awareness and also the issue of the SDGs being implemented in state and federal budgets. But already the budget of the federal government is out. Just that the details, we don't have detail. We don't have details, but we know it's about 6 trillion naira. But one key thing is the issue of awareness. How do we make this go beyond online? Because Jalia talks about awareness, NGOs, civil society, organizations, people on Twitter, social media. But how do we make this go? Because awareness doesn't just stop where NGOs, CSOs, social media stops. It should go far beyond where all these stop. I think one of the trademark line for one of the GSM, the mobile telephony networks, then was where GSM stops. That network said it started from there. So of course, what line I'm talking about. I don't want to mention names here. So how do we make this awareness start from where social media stops, NGOs stop, and also the CSOs, just like Jalia made mention of?
Okay, thank you. I would like to take off from where Jalia stopped when she talked about early adoption. And right now, I think we are on a good ground, in the sense that one of the people that facilitated the SDG is in government. The person of the Minister of the Environment, Ajia Amina Mohammed. I believe that she would do a lot in terms of communicating from the top, because really the achievement of this goal depends largely on leadership. And going from that, so being in the cabinet, the national orientation agencies would need to come in actively, using all the media that is available, whether radio. In fact, the interesting thing we have done in our group as just Nigerians trying to create awareness is that we have gone ahead to translate these goals into local languages, the three major languages, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, with support from other individuals. We've translated the goals so we can easily communicate these goals in our local dialect. Because if the people really don't understand the goals, there's no way they can achieve it. So the government needs to play a leadership role. We have the federal government. There's an MDGs office that I think will translate into SDGs office. They need to either have an established office in each of the state and local government, such that there's a coordination between the federal government and the state government. Then we have the NGOs. Right now, NGOs are doing their things. So we have faith-based organizations going to rural areas and doing many things that relates to the MDGs. They are not tracked, they are not measured. There's no way even the NGOs know that this is actually fulfilling part of the SDGs. So there needs to be a kind of a synergy in terms of communication from the National Orientation Agency and the Ministry of Information to communicate these and engage the people actively. If you go to the social media, what you see is people talking, but there's no much of action on how this can be done. So what our group and some other people have done is that we've held 2 chats where we invite professionals and experts and NGOs that have good understanding of the goal, and we ask them specifically, how do you think Nigeria can implement these goals? And when they share it on our different platforms on Facebook, we now compile these action points and have it there for anybody to make reference to, so that in case they stumble on it, But by and by is that the government needs to take an active role in this, because it is not the NGO's work. When the data is going to be gathered, they will be looking for a believable source. So I come again to where Jalia mentioned a believable and a verifiable data. If we don't have any of this, we may just be achieving but not reporting. So the communication aspect of it has to come from the top. The National Retention Agency needs to take, the front lead in this communication, so that the social media and every other media can follow. And I think really, if we go this route, we would have good buy-in from the community, because they can understand the goal in their local dialect, and we will have proper implementation. Thank you.
All right, very well, Wale. One thing I have noticed is that you and Jalia have talked about, government being at the forefront of championing the cause of implementing the SDGs. But as you know, I mean, you also made mention of, like Wale just made mention of having offices, you know, all around the country. I want to believe that will include even the rural areas. But as you all know, the government at the moment is struggling with a lot of things. Nigeria, I mean, there's fuel scarcity, there's need for roads to be put in place, need for housing, need for power. There's just a lot that is contending for government attention at the moment. Dr. Jalia, let me come back to you now. How do we fund this thing? I mean, budgetary allocations alone, do you think budgetary allocations alone will be enough to put this into fruition, to put this into reality, or do you think we can, source funds from perhaps maybe international donors or from the World Bank, or how do you think we can fund um, talking about offices and even implementing the projects themselves?
I think that we just have to source from anywhere sourceable, really, if there is any word like that. Yes, it is important for the government to be at the forefront, and yes, we understand that there are a lot of problems in Nigeria. We have power, we have unemployment, all these things are there, troubling us, and we want to, try as much as possible to see that our government is really doing something to achieve or really to solve these problems. But you see, what the MDGs has done, oh, sorry, what the SDGs has done really is actually tackle all of these projects into one development plan, really. So all of these problems into one development plan. It talked about unemployment, it talked about poverty, it talked about education. All the problems that are facing Nigeria right now are all embedded in the SDGs, and we've got different targets. So really, it's even making the work of the government even simpler, or should I say easier for them to, let's follow this strategy, and then we'll be able to, let's just adopt it and make it a part of us, and then we'll be able to also solve the problem in our country. Yes, regarding funding, we are saying the government should be in the forefront, but this is something we would like, businesses, big organizations, even if there is, you know, uh, funding organizations to come together to try and solve this problem or try and contribute towards this problem. We could even do things like crowd funding set up at for a particular target. That's why the SDGs is all about partnership, so even individuals can come together and adopt these on their own. NGOs can come together and adopt these on their own. Nigeria is a country of so many characters, good characters that can really push these things, and I've seen it happen. Just today I can make reference to the grown up girl on Twitter. Already we've seen that a sort of fund is being set up for her to put her through education. So all these things, even though they're being carried up by individuals, is all part of the SDGs. Is all part of eradicating poverty. Is all part of quality education, because it's what we want to achieve. Yes, the government should be in the forefront, and yes, the government should adopt these things and just make it in line with their problems. All the SDGs goals, and targets, 169 targets, you can place them somewhere in Nigeria. So there's no excuse for the government to begin to say that, oh, we are broke. Yes, we are broke, but we expect you to do something for us. And adopting these goals is in line with the problems already we have in Nigeria. So it's in line with any solution you're planning to bring into Nigeria.
Oh, very well. You're saying that no matter what, the government has to, because the SDGs actually outlines almost all the things or all the problems that Nigeria is facing at the moment. And while we were talking, Wale was actually nodding his head in concurrence. Wale, I think you have perhaps a word or two to add to what Jalia was saying. Yes?
Absolutely. There's a saying that politicians think about the next election, that leaders think about the next generation. And when I looked at the entire SDGs, I think any politician that wants to win the next election should take these SDGs as their running faith book to implement. And this is exactly what I mean. If you take a look at each of the goal from number 1 to number 17, ending of poverty, if you look at the campaigns of politicians, you will find exactly that they are saying that they are going to make life better for people. They are going to get people out of poverty. And exactly the goal is saying this is how you can get people out of poverty. Therefore, I know I hammer on government not because I believe government can solve, but I believe government can give the direction. I've looked at the budget, the national budget, and I have seen that government have consistently dedicated money to the implementation of MDGs in the past. So already the budgeting structure of Nigeria, each ministry already has a budget to MDGs. So I don't think that is a problem of funding. Funding is there, but it is not more of a problem of funding. It is a problem of commitment. So if you are committed to something, you will find money for it. That's my belief, and I think that government should sit down and actually look at the development. Is a development. In fact, they call it sustainable development, and in sustainable development, you will find social development, you will find environmental development, and you will find the last, which is economic development. This is exactly what people need. Economic development, social development, education, infrastructure, and the environment. Meaning, if you destroy the environment, no matter the amount of money you have, it will not be enough for you to live. It's not be good for you to live because the environment will be too uncomfortable. So I think government should sit down, get one of their special advisors to sit down and actually look at this goal and distribute these goals among the different agencies, the different ministries, and hold them accountable in terms of the results they achieve in this goal. It is doable. Like if you look at Nigeria, really, you will see that Nigeria is a blessed country with talent. And the opportunity to make that change, we're in the era of change, as they used to say, the slogan. It is that these SDGs can actually give us the opportunity to achieve that change in Nigeria, irrespective of party, irrespective of your faith. Development does not know color, does not know party, does not know. So if anybody is a politician, please get on the train and adopt SDG. That's just what I would say.
All right, thank you very much, Wale. Actually, we're about wrapping up. 6 minutes to the end of our time. Okay, Jalia is actually saying she has something to say. Jalia, let me come to you.
Yeah. Yeah, what I would just like to add to you is that it has actually gone beyond Twitter. It's not just because you mentioned earlier about this awareness. So I'd like to call your attention that it's gone beyond Twitter because we've seen Dean Initiative in Abuja organizing a walk for the goal. We've seen Padak Jigawa doing something. So it's gone beyond Twitter. It's gone beyond Facebook. What I think the problem now is we need to talk to our politicians. We need our politicians to come to us. We need them, or if we want to have access to them, let them know what is happening. Okay, we can't just be doing it just ourselves. If we don't have them, who came out and stood on, high platforms and told us that they will eradicate poverty and they will send us to school. If we don't have them involved in this, then we'll just be wasting so much energy. So we need them to pay attention to these goals, and we also need to work with religious leaders and community leaders as well. And as Wale has said earlier, we have looked at budgets and we have seen that there has already been framework in line with, for the MDGs that expired. So it will be easy for us to simply just adopt this, framework for the SDGs. And what we've been doing as well is we've been mapping all MDS ministries, departments, and their agencies with the SDGs. So we've been doing this on our own, but we want the government to come out and own it. That's just what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, very well. You all have spoken absolutely passionately about the SDGs. But Jalia, let me just ask you now, if you have or had the chance, or you are in the position to make things happen, which out of the 17 SDGs would you channel your resources or your energy to see that it is implemented now? With the click
Now,
of the yeah, exactly.
I'm a lecturer. What do you expect? I'll go for education. And as a woman, I'll go for goal 5 too, which is gender equality. So
Okay,
I
very
think I just have to go for the two really because I'm a lecturer by practice, so I'll say goal 4. And I'm a woman. I'm from northern Nigeria as well, so I'll say goal 5, gender equality.
all right, thank you very much, Jalia. Wale, what about you? What would you,
Wow,
what would you
that's a tough question. I love all the goals, I must say. However, if I have to choose, I will go for goal 4 because I believe that an educated nation will find one way or the other to develop. So goal 4 is very key. However, available reports paints Nigeria in a very critical state when it comes to goal 3, which is health and well-being. So I'm saddened by that. In fact, a World Economic Forum Global Competitive Index ratings says Nigeria is 140 out of 140 countries in terms of health infrastructure. So it means that we are in their need of good health infrastructure in Nigeria. But go for me, it's what I will go for because I'm passionate about education. I believe that with education, there's nothing you cannot achieve. Thank you.
All right, Wale, thank you very much. You also made mention of the goals that you would like to implement ASAP. Like now, I could see Jalia was just smiling. Okay, she had someone going in line with what she thinks and what she feels should be one of the first SDGs that should be put in place. But then that's how we have to leave it today on this discussion. Thank you all for coming on board once again. Dr. Jalia Bello. You're calling from Coventry in England. Thanks for coming on board. And also Wale Mikaya, you're calling from Lagos, Nigeria. That's Nigeria's commercial capital, and that's exactly where I am myself. Thank you as well for coming on board. But thank you to you too for coming on board this evening. My name is Victor Matthias, and again, it is a Google Plus Hangout for Channels B. Goodbye.